Hello, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Nick Powell, and I'm here to introduce myself. So I'm an English teacher. I have a few years of diverse experience teaching English to teenagers and to adults. I am from near Vancouver in Canada, and I have recently relocated here to Hanoi, Vietnam, where here I am in my apartment in Hanoi, in Dong Da District, which is sort of a central business district of Hanoi. It's clearly very modern or modernizing. It's developing quite quickly, and there are very few other foreigners around in this part of the city. So it feels very authentic. It's something that I wanted when I came here, was to live with Vietnamese people, or in a more Vietnamese, authentic 21st century Hanoi, developing Vietnam area of the city, rather than living in one of these sort of designated foreigner areas where foreigners typically live. So here I am in my apartment, and I'm an English teacher I've taught in Canada, and I'm teaching here in Vietnam. So one thing I like about being a teacher is that it's a job where you will always know that you have a chance to positively impact other people. So there aren't too many professions or jobs that you know that every time you enter your workplace, in my case, a classroom or some other study area, that when you enter, you're going to positively impact their students or the people that you're learning with. Hopefully, not every time, but often you know that you have made a positive impact in someone else's life. So that's great, because you may have been able to help them make more money or do better in school, or help them with some sort of problem that they've been having. So that feeling of when you go home at the end of the day and you know, wow, I've helped someone today, that's great. That makes me feel like I'm spending my life well. Teaching is also an interesting job because it is always different. No two classes are the same. No two experiences in the same class are the same. It can vary a great deal, of course, depending on what age groups or what size of class that you have. So you know that a small class of adults is going to be a very different teaching experience than a large class of children. But even within those classes, it's going to change. No two classes are the same. So because it's so unpredictable, it keeps you on your toes. It always makes you think, I don't know what I'm going to deal with today. And that's great. So that keeps things interesting. So when I teach, as a teacher of English as a second language, I like to use what's called the communicative method or the communicative approach. This focuses on three different things. The first thing is that it's focused on English communication, which you probably have guessed from the name. So rather than traditional approaches, which have focused on the mastery of grammar or memorization of what's called rote memorization or routine memorization of what the teacher is saying. So for example, the teacher in this case would pick up something. So here's a water bottle. And they would say something like, this is a water bottle, this is a water bottle, this is a water bottle. And the class would have to repeat it after them. This is a water bottle, this is a water bottle, this is a water bottle, water, 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 which is exceptionally boring for the students and for the teachers, and also not particularly helpful because it's not real. It's not real English as it's normally spoken. If that student were to go out on the street in let's say New York City, and say, this is a water bottle, that would not help them. That would not allow them to communicate in New York or get any useful information. So it focuses on English as it's actually spoken, on using real English in the classroom, on putting the students in situations where they're going to have to communicate as like a real English speaker would, as practice for real-world communication. So segueing from communication to the second thing, number two, is that it's focused on authenticity. So that means that rather than simply learning, for example, from traditional textbooks, which are artificial because they have been designed for purely an educational purpose, I mean, you still might use those, they're a good base, but the teacher is also going to use authentic English materials, real-world English, For example, it might be recordings, it might be modeled conversation, newspaper articles, magazine articles, videos of real English materials that have been produced, for real English speakers in the real world. And the third thing that it focuses on is, as I've already been going through, number 3 is usage. English is always used in class. The class is in English, which is the target language, so it's always in the target language, not the language of the students. So here in Vietnam, rather than teaching in Vietnamese with English sprinkled in, the class will be in English, potentially with small amounts of Vietnamese mixed in as necessary, although hopefully it'll be still 100% English. And to explain things, for example, the teacher will use body language, acting out, so that is acting out what they're trying to describe. They will describe it using other words that the students will hopefully know. And other ways, pointing, gesturing, other ways of getting the students to understand what they're saying in the target language. So that's a brief display of the communicative methods, which I like to use in my teaching. Hopefully I've told you a little bit about myself along the way, and that this video acts as an introduction to me, Nick, or Mr. Nick, as I call myself in class here in Vietnam, as a teacher. And I hope you have a great day or evening whenever you watch this, and maybe I'll hear from you soon. Thank you.